Welcome to Teague Talks. I'm really excited today. Today we're in the Hilton headquarters, McLean, Virginia, sitting down with Hilton CEO Chris Nassetta. Chris, this is fantastic. Thank you for hosting us
Teague,
today.
thank you for having me. What you don't know is we're in the Hilton studio, so that means Teague Talks gets a heavily discounted rate on the technology that they usually have to haul around. Number one. Number two, that we're under full construction. So Teague and I had to duck under ladders and, a lot of people working because we're redoing our entire, our world headquarters, and we're in the middle of it. But this is like a little oasis.
I'm not going to lie, I thought I was getting punked.
I know.
When I walked through the construction
he's walking in we're going to do what? We're going to, you're going to love it. When
hammers and drills.
Yeah, you'll love it when we get there. It's like a little oasis.
It's going to be great. So I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff. 2024, 25, obviously, our audience is really your developers. So sort of with that in mind, let's jump in. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
You were handpicked in 2007, right? When Blackstone bought Hilton, everybody knows.
July 4th, 2007.
John Gray, I'm assuming.
John Gray.
Handpicked.
Yep.
Stole you from Host. It's been 18 years.
It's been 18 years, yeah. It's crazy when you think about it. Let's
not get
somebody sent
angles.
me literally yesterday a picture of something in that year, and I was like, wow, that looked like a different
Look at that guy.
Like, where'd all this stuff come from? But yeah, it was a long time ago. So what a ride!
What a ride! Well, think of all the stuff you've been through, right? One, taken from public to private.
Yeah.
And then immediately through the GFC.
Yeah.
Good times, great financial crisis.
Good times.
Sure. And then back to public.
Then spins.
Then
break the company into pieces.
Yeah.
Then a little pandemic.
Small one.
And then here we are.
Yeah. You've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot. There is I have a lot of experience in all the different iterations of, if I think about my career, public, private, I had my own private equity business. I started out as on the finance side. I financed by education and was in the finance and real estate development side. I've done lots of workout. Part of my, I had my own business, was private equity and workouts. So I've sort of seen everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, being involved in restructurings in a very heavy way, being involved in very big, transformations, very big sort of growth initiatives. And in the end, all of that, people have said, well, what is the one thing that, what's what how did you, pull it all together? And I said, bit by bit. I mean, the reality is every one of those different experiences were super helpful and informative and a super important part of my growth story. I mean, going all the way back. I mean, hey, listen, my first job was working at the Capitol Holiday Inn in the engineering department, plunging toilets. I learned a lot. I learned what goes on behind the walls of a hotel, which is a guest. And guess what? Everybody listening knows this. You don't know much.
You don't want to
all the way through, living through the S&L crisis and doing workouts, being in my own private equity business and starting with, a partner and an administrative assistant and nothing else, and building a business, going to Host and, doing a complete transformation of that business and then growing it from a little teeny business to a big business, S&P 500, Fortune 500 company, coming to Hilton and doing, a massive restructuring of the whole business. But then it, if that wasn't hard enough in and of itself, living through the financial crisis and trying to do the triple Lindy while that was going on, doing spins, IPOs, living through COVID. And so all of it, it's like anything in life, all of it has been, very helpful in terms of my, my personal growth. And I think, if I reflect what I think, leadership is about, in the end, leadership's about, making sure you build a great culture and that you have a really good strategy, and you need both of them. And that probably lastly, that you build resilience, because stuff happens. Like, what I think it was Mike Tyson that said, the plan is great until somebody comes out and punches you in the face. And the truth is, particularly in an industry like ours, but all industries, you get punched in the face a bunch. I mean, I've been punched in the face a bunch throughout my career, hopefully, because nothing personal, but macro conditions generally. But you got to be able to be resilient, and so all of those things matter. Like learning how to build cultures, and some of that's like you can read books, you can get educated, but a lot of it is just trial and error, and figuring out how do you build great strategies. And then resilience is a lot of just living through it and understanding that what goes up comes down, what goes down comes up, and being able to sort of keep a steady hand on the wheel and lead people through really challenging times. And so all of I think about my career. I mean, it's funny, John Gray said to me, and I didn't really, maybe he was just, selling me on coming to Hilton when he was recruiting me. And I said, John, I haven't run any of the big brand companies. I've worked with the big brand companies. I've been the biggest owner of most of them. I think, and I understand the business, but I haven't done that. And John's comment to me in 2007, sitting at the Occidental Grill in the Willard Hotel Complex, which was my first job out of business school, was the redevelopment of that complex. John said, "You've been training your whole career to do this." That was his comment. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Think about all the steps, and the different things you've done. No, you haven't done this, but all of the things that you have done have prepared you for this." So he had a lot of confidence. He probably had more confidence, if the truth be known, than I did at that time. I mean, there's not a job, including this, that I've taken that I didn't feel like I was over my skis. Who am I to go do this? And I would say at every single step in my career journey has been that way. But I've always been willing to sort of push myself and say, all right, I want to grow and I want to learn. And if I'm doing the same things the same way all the time, I'm not going to really be able to grow and learn.
This job
feels
John,
a whole lot that stuck with me, bigger. Obviously. Those were John's exact words. And, listen, we've had ups and downs, and it's not like, I've been or we've been perfect. But, in the 18 years, I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish. The team here, is world class. I mean, we're the number one great place to work in the world, number one great place to work in the United States. We've been the leading performer in terms of driving growth and market share, and the stock market, the markets tell us, we're, at the moment we've been the best if you look over the last 10 years, we've been the best performing of the public. So, we've done something right, but like everything, we have a lot more to do.
Great, such as? Put us in that meeting.
Well, I would say at a high level, while we do a really good job in terms of product and service and how we wrap it in loyalty, how we've evolved from a technology point of view to digitize things, to make it a better experience for customers, to enable our team members to have more resources to better serve customers. I think we've done a really good job. I think as an industry and as a company, we're at the tip. It's the tip of the iceberg in terms of revolutionizing the way we serve customers and using technology in ways that enable our team members, because in the end, we are a business of people serving people, enabling our team members to do a better job, having more information, that is in the moment, like real-time information, giving them the tools, not just here's information on something going right or wrong or an opportunity to serve, but giving them tools to then do something about it, and building that all into our tech stack in a way that allows you to essentially mass customize the experience in a way that nobody's ever really done, because not only is it hard, the technology hasn't really existed until now to be able to do it. So I think there's some really interesting things. We're not the only ones that are going to say it and do it. I hope, we'll get there first and do it better. That's my job. But I think we can better serve customers. I think we do a good job. I think we can do better. And similarly, as we're doing that, I am, in the end, customers sleeping in the hotels are super important. But the other customer that's equally important is our owner community, because we're a capital light business. Our growth is, so goes their growth, so goes ours, because we don't own these properties, and they invest and build these properties as part of their business to drive returns. They invest capital, they invest, they put their time and effort into it, and they need to get returns. And we're very proud of the work we've done, driving the highest share in the industry and driving profitability, to the bottom line in terms of how we've managed our standards and things. But it's the world's a little bit tougher right now. You're sort of a little bit like if you go back like pre-COVID, 16 through 19, when you were in a relatively low growth revenue environment. And I'll come back to that because it may step up a bit in the world we're in, at least for a period of time. But still a stubbornly high expense growth environment, and that means margins are going backwards, right? So like I grew up as an owner. I get it. My family was and is in the hotel ownership business. I ran the biggest hotel ownership company. I get it. Revenue's growing at a lower rate than expenses is making it tough. So one of the things in this and a lot of other meetings I've been saying to our teams is we need to continue to be really pushing the limits on how are we using technology, how are we thinking about our standards, how are we thinking about all of our infrastructure costs to continue to find ways to be more efficient in the hotels and otherwise, so that we can translate that through to benefit our owners. And so, that's sort of like, those would be the two things on my mind. If you think about it, like those are the two most important outside of our team members, who are obviously really important, but I think we've done a nice job and will continue to as a great, the number one great place to work. It's really making sure we are serving our customers the best we can and pushing the limits and trying to innovate faster, and then making sure that's all translating for the benefit of owners in the sense of them getting returns. It's good for them, and obviously we take that responsibility super seriously. It's also good for us. I say to owners all the time, like, we're aligned. Like, the more money you make, I think on the margin, the more you're going to want to build more hotels, and that's good for us. And so, and so the flywheel goes.
You have a tough job because you have, as I see it, 4 customers. You have guests, you have your owners, as you just alluded to, you have your employees, the team, and you have shareholders.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to keep everybody happy. So let's talk about 24. So from a lot of perspectives, 24 is a really tough year for a lot of people, right? All the expense creep for owners.
Yep.
High interest costs. So values of assets are down, transactions are down, and just a lot of other industries and people are struggling.
Yes.
One, we can talk about that, but somehow you guys had a really good year. Stock price an all-time high. You started 2 new brands, Live Smart, Spark. 4 new partnerships, Nomad and Graduate and AutoCamp and
we did have
small luxury hotels.
We had a very busy year, and as a result of all the things you just named, we were able to sort of drive, a good result at the bottom line, and the market obviously liked it. But the markets, public markets are all very forward-looking. I mean, I call it, Janet Jackson syndrome. It's like, what have you done for me lately? Public markets don't really look back. They always look forward. So I think the enthusiasm in the market, I think, is good for everybody. The enthusiasm in the market broadly is that I think the market views at least the next year or two as being better than everybody might have thought 6 months ago. Why? A whole bunch of reasons. But I think underneath it is a lighter regulatory environment, inflation, coming under control, which will likely bring, maybe it's not tomorrow, but over time will likely bring rates down, a more friendly tax environment. And so I think the markets are sort of like, the markets are forward looking. They're looking at all those things. Now we'll see how it all plays. By the way, I shouldn't leave out geopolitical. The markets are sort of saying, they think there's a higher probability that the Middle East settles down, that the Eastern Europe settles down. And again, right or wrong, some of that will work out, some of it won't. I think that has given the markets, has buoyed the markets a little bit. And why do I think that's good for everybody as we think about this year is I think that will, and we're already seeing it translate into a better business. I mean, what does that mean? Like, people don't like uncertainty. And so while there's noise, there was so much uncertainty around some of those very big topics, particularly for business travelers. Businesses were saying like, I'm going to sort of like keep my, I'm going to keep a pretty tight hold on the reins while I figure all these things out. They're not letting the reins go, but they're certainly letting them slip a little bit on the belief that, that the broader economic growth opportunity is at least a bit better. And I think that's going to translate, clearly last year was a tough year where you had, in the US, low single digit revenue growth and, a point or two higher than that in cost growth. That's not great. This year, I mean, inflationary pressures remain a little elevated. I do think that they are normalizing quite rapidly for a lot of things. Obviously, there's certain categories like insurance that's sort of off the charts a little bit. But if you look at wage growth, it's kind of normalizing, and broader inflation's coming down, which is why I do think in the next 12, 24 months you're going to see rate structures come down. But I do believe that there's a higher probability that you could have a different outcome this year. Now, is it a high probability, meaning that you could actually see revenue growth eclipse or equal expense growth? Is it a high probability? I don't know. It's too early in the year, but at least there's a chance. And that's why, by the way, you talked about us. That's why I think the market is being nice to us at the moment, is they see all that as translating into better outcomes for our business. In terms of like all the partnerships, we had a crazy busy year. We don't buy things. We really haven't done things like that. And I've been here, as you pointed out, 18 years. And we didn't like go crazy last year. These were very unique sort of opportunities in an area that we've been really interested in and been working on forever, luxury and lifestyle. And we look at our overall breakdown across all the segments, and I'd say, well, we have hundreds of hotels in both, across both categories, relative to our overall scale and the competitive environment. We feel like, we want and need more in those areas. And those were some really, I think, interesting ways to sort of push further into those areas. Graduate is a brand we love. We think it has a huge addressable market. It's relatively small. It has, huge growth, and it was part of a broader recapitalization plan with a really good friend of mine, Ben Wiepren, who owns all the real estate. Sort of restacking his capital structure, and so that really worked out. Nomad is obviously small, but it gets us in luxury lifestyle exactly with the kind of product that we would do ourselves, and just accelerates our efforts. And SLH, AutoCamp's quite small, but really interesting, experiential. Customers love it already. I mean, there's only 10 of them, but, they'll grow. But SLH, took us from, 120 dots on the map in luxury with great Waldorfs, Conrads, LXRs to, 500 and soon 600 dots on the map. Many of those are very small, but they're in really unique, cool locations. And the behavior already in terms of what we're seeing in honors redemptions, like people feeling like they have places to go to satisfy that need, is super, super strong. And that's really why we did it, is, we have a lot of people, road warriors, that are traveling like I am, like 70-80% of the time. And it's hard. It seems sexy. My kids are like, oh, you're out traveling. I was like, yeah, I love what I do, but I'm not traveling. I'm not hanging out at the beach drinking pina coladas. We're working hard out there. And like all road warriors, they want to feel like for their loyalty, there's, something that's really appealing that they can, convert that loyalty into. That isn't always luxury, and it isn't always resorts. A lot of times it will be like, I got a soccer tournament in Reading, Pennsylvania. I need to stay at a Hampton, and I get it for free. In fact, it ends up being, the majority of it ends up being more pragmatic. But there is a decent chunk of it where it's like people want to dream. They want to feel like I can go to Tuscany, I can go to the Maldives. And having that many, dots on the map in our system, I think just creates a even fuller offering, for our most loyal, or for all our travelers, particularly our most loyal travelers.
I get that a lot. And sort of the bigger you get, I mean, you're at the Spark, upper end economy, all the way to Waldorf. I mean, you guys, and I'm guessing the bigger the snowball gets, the more it helps everybody.
Yeah, and the bigger the snowball gets, the more customers you serve.
Yeah,
so we served 250 million people last year. So by definition, you need more dots on the map because those 250 million people are all over the world, and there are a lot of them. So if you don't have enough places for them to go, and when they start dreaming, it can't translate into an experience, it's a problem. What I'm trying to have us build is a network effect where we can, I said this when we went public, I think I coined the phrase, although it's simple, it's like I want to be able to serve any customer for any need they have anywhere in the world they want to be. That requires that you're in a lot of places. So in our case, 145 countries, and you have a lot of dots on the map, and that it's not just dots, that you have the segments covered. So you have, all the way down to economy up to a Waldorf, because people have different needs, people have different means in terms of what they can afford. And so if you're trying to build a network effect, you gotta cover it all.
What are you seeing in travel trends?
Well, I think it's what you'd expect. I mean, pre-COVID, I was saying all the time, I think we're in a golden age of travel. Now I say we're in a new golden age of travel, and that's being driven by the fact that people want to spend less money on things, and they want to spend it on experiences. During COVID, obviously, it was all things. I mean, all you could do is sit around and shop online. So it was great for the retailers, great, particularly the online retailers, tech companies. But coming out of it, we not only resumed the prior trajectory, but it steepened the incline. And that is because people thought, oh my gosh, the world can restrict me. I can get locked in my closet for 2 years. So I'm going to get out and I want to have experiences. So what that means is all the experiential side of it, what we think about in the hotels, what's going on in the hotels, food and beverage, ancillary services, connecting to the local environment and events and sites within the local environment. People want experiences. Now, sometimes it's just business travel, a lot of it, and that's I'll get to that, and that's more similar. But I'd say broadly, the theme is experiential. And then I'd say, back to something I said earlier, I think people are looking every other aspect of their life. They're able with technology, or they're starting to be able to customize everything they want, like how they buy it, how it's delivered to them, whether you want different colors of shoe or monogram. Well, think about all the ways you can customize things. They want that with us too. And so we're working really hard on that to think about when you're serving 250 million people a year and growing, our people do a great job, but if you're going to really systematically do it, you got to use a massive amount of technology, generative AI to understand the data, and then actually, make sense of the data to enable our teams to actually, on the other end, deliver something that is customized. But people want that, and we're going to give it to them because they're getting it. Think of it, you're just getting it in other aspects of their life, and it's going to end up being ubiquitous. And so I think those are the big trends. I call it phygital. The first one is experiences, experiential, and the second I'd say is phygital, like the connectivity of the physical and digital in a way that allows mass customization.
So how does that translate to your developers? Where should they be developing? Another way, your pipeline, you've said, is as big as ever.
Led by Kevin Jacobs, we do a huge amount of strategic planning around development and how we allocate resources in regions and micro regions, and where we want to lean into regions and relationships and different segments. And what we're always trying to do is literally look at the data. Again, we're living in a world where we have gobs of data, and we now have tools to be able to slice and dice the data to have it tell us a lot of different things that we couldn't. I mean, if you had the time and put 1 million people on it, you could have figured out. Now you don't need it. You got tools that'll tell you. And so we're really looking at, all right, we have a network, and if we're going to continue to build the strength of that network and create real network effect, what's missing? Where do our customers want to be? Where are they trying to go that we're not serving them in a resort context? What cities and where in the cities do they want to be that we may not be present? what price points? Where do we have people abandon in terms of price points? And do we need to be thinking, like where we bring spark? And so, yeah, but there's a degree, as you know, you're in the business, and so is everybody watching. There's a degree of like, there's just opportunities. We have unbelievable 10,000 owner relationships, and they come to us and they have an idea and they have a site and an idea and a brand idea. There's certainly that's always going to happen. But when we get it, it then gets filtered through our own algorithms, if you will, of like, what does our development strategy say? And as I said, it's very bespoke in terms of every region of the world, has a strategy. We're constantly looking at it, annually sort of updating it to say, like, if the whole thing is a more powerful network effect, we'll get more share of wallet and we'll drive more share, which drives more profits for owners, then we should be. And we have limited resources because we do, like any company. We don't have like unlimited numbers of people running around in our development teams. Let's make sure that we're doing first things first, that we're focused on the more strategic options that will drive the better network effect, because that benefits everybody. Obviously, it benefits us because growth is good, and that's what the market, our shareholder base wants. But if it's building network effect and on the margin, helping us build, getting higher share wallet and building share, it's going to translate to all of our owners with better results.
You think the future is bright for the hospitality industry?
You heard me say, I do think we're in a new golden age of travel. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not going to say maybe close to 40 years, maybe longer if you go back to my plunging toilet days. I've never felt better about the industry. Now we do have, to all our owners, I'm not insensitive as I said earlier in comments, in case they edit that out. I'm not insensitive to the difficulties right now with expense growth and the like. But when I think about the next 5, 10, the rest of my career, and frankly, like, the next bunch of decades, I think we're all going to feel like we've been fortunate to be in this industry. We do something that most of us love. I certainly do. We have a huge impact on a lot of people's lives, both in the industry and those that are staying with us. We have a huge impact, in building businesses, within the owner segment. And underneath it all, if you look at the trends in terms of, demographic trends in the world, if you look at the trends in terms of people's desire for more experiences, we are experiences. I think we will be one of the highest growth industries for decades to come. By the way, I'm not the only one that thinks that. There are a lot of, I used to chair WTT, World Travel and Tourism Council. We've done a lot of third-party work, and a lot of smart economists would agree with that. So, there's some, there are always going to be challenges, and we are here in the U.S., in a moment where, where there's friction and it's harder. And we'll get through that. I think, as I said, I've never felt better for the long term of the industry. We'll have to do, sort of get through some shorter term challenges. And, to our owner community, we're going to work awfully hard to continue to be able to continue to deliver an exceptional experience that ultimately drives even higher share, and be able to do it in terms of the standards and the cost structures that allow margins to get back where we want them going, which is growing, so that our owners have healthy businesses.
I love your optimism, and that's good for all of us to hear. Because again, there are a lot of headwinds today. Even interest rates, we didn't even talk about that. We had a golden age of sort of 15 years of low interest rates.
I think over the next 12, 24 months, rates are coming down, period. Maybe the not bad news, I don't think we're going back to the free money days anytime soon. But meaning we're not going to probably get back to where we were during COVID or the pre-COVID days, where money was super, super cheap. But I do think it'll be meaningfully cheaper than it is today, much more abundant. Take the regulatory environment, like they're going to deregulate the banking business a lot. They're going to want to go further out on the yield curve. They're going to have to. They're going to start wanting to finance all this stuff. All that stuff, I think, is in motion. The only thing I think my own opinion, I could be wrong, I'm not an economist, but I've been doing this long. The only thing I think is we're going to have a more normalized rate environment, not like post great recession sort of interest rate environment, we're going to have more normalized.
Chris, this is great. We could do this forever. So I'm going to wrap up. My final statement is we just made a big announcement. We just finished the Hunter Conference, and we just made a big announcement, as you're aware of. Correct.
I love it.
Moving the conference to the Hilton
Signia. I saw you there while you were shopping it, right?
That's right. Remember? That's right. That was a little preview.
We kept a little secret, but I was down at the Signia Hilton in Atlanta, where the conference is now being moved, and Teague was out there scoping it out. My team said, you got to go talk him into doing this. So I had a little bit of a heads up. But let me tell you, your conference is spectacular. My team, and I love it. Like there's tons of action, lots getting done, always lots at time of year, and the venue and just the way you guys put it all together is super high energy. We love it, and love the fact that we will be the host hotel. The Signia Hilton, for those who haven't seen it, you'll see it. Spectacular hotel, really purpose-built, brand new, connected to Georgia World Congress Center. Tons of really cool food and beverage. It's a spectacular product. So we look forward to welcoming everybody.
We are super excited to do it. It's going to be great. It's going to be all new conference, everybody. There's a lot of work we're doing behind the scenes, but it is going to be fun. We're reimagining the conference. It is going to be really, really, really good. So can't wait for that. And your team is fantastic. You and your team and helpful in getting the transition.
Terry, you got one of our best GMs. Terry's amazing.
Everybody was a huge help. So thank you.
She's terrific. Yeah.
So there we go. And now we'll get one of the big four at Hilton, and we'll make everybody jealous.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be great. Thank you. On behalf of myself and all the owners, they really want to hear from you, so I appreciate your time and energy.
Love this.
This is super. And I'm coming back if I can get through.
Yeah, just get your hard hat on for the way out.
Do I have to have a hammer and help them build?
Yeah, we need some help. We got to get this done.
You have enough people. Thank you. This is great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.